Hello, everyone. This is Marlins Daily on the Fan Arch Network. I am Kurt Semder, and we are here now in uncharted waters for the Marlins. 12 straight losses, a franchise record 12 straight losses. And what more can you say? I mean, this is a team that we said coming out of the All-Star break needed to play well. They needed to win games. They've done neither of those things. And they have now found themselves and putting themselves in a situation that there may not be any coming back from. And you look at a team right now that really seemed to have things rolling a month ago, coming off of a 20-6 month that they were just cruising and they were making noise and right there in the race for the division, right there in the wild card race. And now they've lost 12 in a row, 9 straight since the All-Star break. They lost the last 3 before the break to make this a 12-game losing streak. They've given back all of the goodwill and capital that they had from that successful month. And now, what more can you say about this team? I mean, I'll just stick to Sunday's game because that really hurts the most, I think, for the team and for the fan base, because they were right there. They had this game right where they wanted it and lost it. Kyle Stowers did a great job. Big double in the first inning, home run later in the game. He looked good. Jensen Junk looked good on the mound. He was pitching well. Ran into a little bit of trouble in the 5th inning. At just 75 pitches, he got pulled out of the game, which I'm not sure why, other than I know they're being careful with him coming back from an injury. But once again, the analytics comes back to bite them because they go and, yes, Michael Peterson got them out of that jam in the 5th. He took a line drive off the arm and x-rays came back negative. He's okay. That's good. But you go to your bullpen in the 5th inning and now you've got to stick to this Marlins bullpen, which we're going to talk about in just a little bit. And they've got to ask them to get you through 4 more innings to get you the win. And that's a tall task for a bullpen that has really been asked to do a lot over the last week and a half, and a week and a half that has seen this team come away with no wins. So many things in this game just didn't work for me, and I shouldn't have worked for Marlins fans out there because, it's something very simple, and this is just silly, and this is just something I just want to bring up real quick because I've talked about it before. Otto Lopez having a great season. Stop at the ABS challenges in the first inning. It was a clear strike 3. He asked for a challenge. First batter of the game. Marlins are already down a challenge. You save those. You never know when you're going to need them in a close game. But that's not a big deal. That's just something that, struck me. This team, when they were cruising along, things were going their way. A bad throw into left field results in a run scoring on a steal attempt. You think maybe their luck is turning around, and it just isn't. And there's a saying that good teams find ways to win games, but bad teams find ways to lose games. And right now they're a bad team because the Marlins are finding new ways to lose, it seems like, each and every game. And now they put themselves in a situation where they're back in 4th place in the National League East, double-digit games behind the Braves, falling behind in the wild card race. They're under 500, 2 games under 500 now, in fact. And as we've mentioned, the timing of this couldn't be worse with the trade deadline just a week away as far as this team trying to decide what they're going to do for the rest of the season. And they put themselves in this spot because of a lot of different factors. The offense, as I've mentioned, really has struggled. I mean, they just had, 5 hits, I believe, in this game against San Diego. They gave up 13. They had only 5 hits. They were lucky to be winning 3-1 going into the 8th inning with that kind of offensive production. But the guys just seem to not be able to get it done right now. Guys are struggling up and down. And it's just not good. It's just not looking good. And, I wish they had let Junk finish that inning, or at least try to finish that inning and try to give the bullpen a little bit of a break, but it just wasn't there. And, Clayton McCullough goes and tries to do what he wants to do with that bullpen and tries to get this team to the finish line. Tyler Zuber's been great. Good call going to him. I liked going to him there in the 7th. And then you go to the eighth inning, and that's kind of where things fell apart. And the eighth inning has been tough. I think the Padres scored half or more than half of their runs in this series in the eighth inning. And you go with Lake Bacher in the eighth inning, who has struggled mightily. Yes, he pitched well in this series earlier, but for the most part has really struggled. His last 7 games now, his ERA is approaching 12. And he kept challenging Manny Machado and challenging him. And 3-2 pitch, you go to a fastball at the top of the zone that probably needed to be higher. It wasn't, and Machado squared it up and launched it over the center field wall. And just like that, it was a 3-3 game. And Bacher stays in the game because Clayton McCullough does not have anyone warming up in the bullpen. And Jackson Merrill hits a home run to put them in front. And they go from there, and they're able to tack on another run. And the next thing you know, a 3-1 game is 5-3. And what I think, it's easy to second guess the manager. And Pete Fairbanks has not been reliable as the team's closer, but he may be your best option at that point in the game based off of who's available and who was available so far from this series. Because, again, some of these other arms have been used in other games and were not available on Sunday. But facing the best part of the Padres order there in the eighth inning, maybe put Pete Fairbanks in there for the eighth and bring Bacher in the ninth if that's where you want to go, if you want to pitch those two guys. Maybe put your best player, your best option against their best hitters. Instead, they just don't get it done, and the bullpen gives up a game that the Marlins needed to have. They needed to, the breaking of this losing streak was right there for them, and doesn't get it done. And, Fairbanks ends up pitching in the ninth anyway, but the game was over at that point. They had a shot in the eighth inning kind of to get something going, but you could tell from the team's body language as they kept giving up those runs in the eighth, and then Mason Miller was coming on to pitch in the ninth. This game was over, and this series was over. And, I don't want to say the Marlins season is over because a lot can change. We've seen that already this season. Sure, they could just turn this thing around and go on a run, but right now they're going on a run in the wrong direction. And the other teams in the standings are making the run in the right direction. And as they continue to drop and they continue to fall, it starts to become a situation where you have to start wondering what exactly are the Marlins going to do at the trade deadline. I mean, with just a week to go now until the deadline, which is a week from today, what do you do if you're Peter Bendix and this front office? I don't see how you can make additions. I don't see what you add to this team that's going to make them that much better. I wouldn't mortgage this team's bright future and their young talent to try to add a small piece here or a small piece there. If you don't want to trade Sandy and you want to keep some of these bullpen arms, fine, go for it with the team you've got there. But I think that's the very least you can do, or the very most you can do, I should say. They could go in the other direction here, and I don't think anybody would really blame them. It would be hard to see a guy like Sandy pitching for another team. But right now, the way this is going, I don't see where do you see this team going this season? Do you see an addition of a right-handed bat making a big difference? Do you see the addition of a big starting pitcher making a huge difference? Because now you got to pass the Nationals in the standings to begin with in your division before you could even start talking about getting back into the wild card chase. And yes, a good 2 weeks, you could do that. We saw that with like the Red Sox this season. Had a good 2 weeks where they didn't lose and put themselves right back in the mix in the American League. Well, the Marlins have now done the opposite and had 2 bad weeks, and it has knocked them right out of things. So they've got to take a good look in the mirror here. They've got to find a way to rebound, and they've got to figure out exactly what their plan is here over the next week, because the deadline, as I mentioned, just a week away, and this team has games against the Phillies and the Mets before the trade deadline in order to make a statement to their front office that they should make additions and they should try to go for it, or at the very least keep this team together. Because if this losing streak starts stretching out even more, if we start talking about a 13, 14, 15-game losing streak, how do you justify making additions to this team? And I don't want to be super negative about this group because they've really did well for 6 weeks of this season, and they showed you signs that there's something here. But these last 2 weeks have been so bad, and they've lost games in such brutal, heartbreaking fashion that it's hard to justify reaching down into the minor leagues and trading some of your big prospects to go get other guys to help this team make a run. And I just don't see it happening, and I just don't think it's the way to go. And as we mentioned, the schedule that we had coming out of the deadline was going to be difficult, and it's been difficult, and they've lost every single game. And now you've got the Phillies coming into town for 3 games. As I mentioned, things not going to get any easier. You got Tyler Phillips pitching, tonight. You got, Sandy's going to take the mound on Tuesday. Don't know who's going to pitch Wednesday. Again, we're in that same spot, with Max Meyer still on the injured list. You're facing off with Zach Wheeler. You're facing Jesus Luzardo later in the series. No Christopher Sanchez, thankfully. But the Phillies are playing much better than the Marlins are. This is a tough series for them, and it comes at a really tough time. And at best, you want to just get a win somewhere here early, if not tonight, tomorrow. You got to get a win soon. You got to snap this streak, because the longer this goes, the worse this team is going to feel about themselves. And it starts to become a situation where you're like, how do we win games? And the Phillies are going to pose a big challenge if they could somehow figure out a way to get some wins in this series. You got the Mets coming in, who are playing even worse. They played decently against the Dodgers, but the Mets are banged up. They're playing bad. Juan Soto's hurt. The Mets are right there for the taking, but you got to get there first. And you can't lose 3 games against the Phillies, have this losing streak go all the way to 15, which right now they're tied with the Mets for the longest losing streak this season. And no team that's lost 12 games in a season has ever made the playoffs, so just keep piling things on for them. But you don't want to end up, losing 15 in a row, and then you go beat up on the Mets, and you're saying, all right, we're ready to make a playoff run. Well, you have to beat some of these good teams to make everybody believe. And right now, it's tough. It's tough. There's no other way to put it. And, I hope, Marlins fans, comment, let me know what you think. I would love to know what you think about the way this team is playing right now and what you think they should do this week. Because their front office should be busy one way or another. Just what are they trying to do exactly? We're going to break down everything that we think this team might do during the course of the week as we see how this all plays out. But right now, times are tough. It's a dark time for the Marlins right now. Even after you didn't expect June to continue on into July and into August, you didn't expect them to keep winning games at a 20 out of 26 clip, but you certainly didn't expect them to lose 12 in a row. And you certainly didn't expect them to be in this situation now where you really are wondering how the rest of the season's going to go. But we'll keep an eye on how everything plays out. Hopefully, the Marlins can get a win tonight. We can talk about something a little bit more positive. We can be a little happier. We could have some more fun with this. But for now, let's just hope. Let's just hope. And I really hope we're not talking about 13 straight losses tomorrow. And we'll see you then on Marlins Daily right here on the Fan Arch Network. Like and subscribe, everybody. I'll see you tomorrow.